Hi guys, DevilHunterXYZ, and today I decided to continue more with my Devil May Cry Bloody Palace series, and of course chronologically it would have been the fourth game next, but I'm still working on that for right now. So I decided to do DmC Devil May Cry, or I guess in this case the Definitive Edition. I have both versions, and I already did Dante's back in 2013 I believe. So I decided with the Definitive Edition, at least one of the unique things is you can play Bloody Palace with Vergil. Although Vergil's Bloody Palace is a little bit different compared to Dante's, as Vergil only fights enemies that he has fought in this campaign, and it only goes up to 60 levels. So not a whole lot, but at least it's better than nothing. And for this case I decided to use Devil May Cry 3 Vergil just for a bit of a change. Well, anyway, how Bloody Palace plays here is kind of similar to how it plays in Devil May Cry 4. You fight enemies in each level, then you go through a portal that sends you up one level at a time. So they took out the whole 3 portal aspect, as I guess it came to their senses, as most people always chose the 100 level portals. And I guess equaling it all together, it's about 100 levels they would have to go through. So I guess they went with that kind of aspect in mind. Instead of just having 9,999 levels, you only have 100 levels, or 60 levels in this case, and you just go one level at a time. Also, another big change is they have a time limit added into Bloody Palace. You get more time added when you defeat enemies, and you also get a bonus if you can defeat them without taking any damage. But of course, if the time limit runs out, then you automatically lose. So it kind of makes you play a little bit more faster, and it kind of also makes you plan out your strategies more. Now as for the bosses, well, for Dante, every 20 levels he completes, he faces a boss, and it's always the same bosses no matter what, so it's always in the same order. So at least you have an idea who you're going to be facing and how you need to be prepared. And of course as for Vergil, since he really only has one boss, it's pretty obvious that it's going to be Hollow Vergil at the last level. So yeah, it's pretty similar to Devil May Cry 4. Although I say what's a little bit exclusive to DmC though is there are some levels where the environment itself changes up. And by that I mean, like for Dante, there was an instance where you had to fight enemies upside down. And for Vergil, there was a level where you had to face enemies while the ground is starting to crumble. And there are some levels where you had to go through portals to go through different sections of the battle area. Well, with all that said, I guess I can give my overall opinion about DmC Devil May Cry the Definitive Edition. As back in the spring, I really wasn't quite sure if I was going to get this game, but after a couple of months of hype and videos, I decided to go for it. But I guess the question now is, was it really worth it? And to be perfectly honest, I say no, it wasn't. I'm not saying this game was bad or anything, but since I already had the original version, the Definitive only just made my experience slightly better. I mean, the lock-on really does help. I mean, it was pretty much a necessity. And having the 60 frames per second does make the gameplay feel a lot smoother. And being able to play Vergil and Bloody Palace was a good plus. But other than that, there really wasn't anything too interesting. I mean, having additional costumes and additional game modes to make the experience more longer than it needed to be was okay, but wasn't too great. Also, what I think sucked was the fact that we had to pay for all the DLC in the original version, and yet in this Definitive Edition, we get them all for free at the start of the game. So it kind of feels like I got ripped off in the fact that I had to pay for all the DLC, and now it's just all free all of a sudden. I mean, overall, I'd say if you've never played DmC Devil May Cry before, or I guess if you're a really huge Devil May Cry fan, go for the Definitive Edition. But if you already have the original, I'd say you're not really missing too much, just stick to that. Alright, so I guess it's time now to face Hollow Vergil. And I gotta say, it's a little bit strange that the size of the life bar is about the same size as the original version. It's like they didn't really have time to resize it or anything. I'm not saying its health is bigger, I'm just saying the actual graphic is just a little bit huge compared to the rest of the game. But in any case, at least it's a Vergil versus Vergil boss battle. I mean, it pretty much is, since I mean, it's Vergil's dark persona going against his human persona. Oh man, I hate this part. Trying to dodge the summon swords that he uses. It's really all about timing at this point. remember this was a huge issue when I was trying to do Hell in Hell difficulty. I mean, I had to really get the timing down right. Pretty much at this point it's just a rinse and repeat of the same attacks. And hopefully it doesn't get me with anything too extreme. Well, luckily for me, since I have Doppelganger, it's almost a 2 against 1 boss battle. Actually, that's the thing I don't really understand. I mean, Vergil doesn't really have Devil Trigger, he just has Doppelganger. But I guess in some aspects it kind of functions the same as Devil Trigger. Oh, great, more barrage of summon swords again. Of course, now it's faster and longer. Yeah, I think I got the timing on the summon swords right. Oh my god, so many swords. That was more than I thought. I don't think he ever threw that many before, at least in the missions I fought him. Oh man, this is extreme. Oh, finally it's over. But of course he caught me off guard with the Judgment Cut. Almost dead, just a little bit more. And he's dead. Well, that score's pretty good. And it did it under 40 minutes. Of course, since I was using Super Vergil though, unfortunately my score's getting reduced. But it's still pretty good. Well, this is DevilHunterXYZ, and until next time.